Today on the WEInvested podcast, we have Tammy Trenta, and she is the founder and CEO of Family Financial. Tammy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Before we started recording, I was just letting you know that I've, seen some of the work that you put in and learned a little bit about your history and just everything you've done up to this point. So I'm really honored to be able to have you on the show and kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
For sure. And before we get started, would you just mind letting the people know where they can find you on social media or your company website?
Yes, my company website is familyfinancial.biz, B-I-Z. And I probably the best place to reach me would be on LinkedIn, Tammy Trenta.
That's awesome. So, let's just kind of start from the beginning and talk a little bit about, where did you grow up and where you're from?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm a native Jersey girl, and I embarked on my financial journey during my first year of college after learning that my parents had lost everything in the real estate market and were forced to file bankruptcy. It was a hard lesson learned early on, and I think what it did for me is it forced me to become financially independent at a fairly early age. I landed my first opportunity at a financial services firm in downtown Los Angeles. So I made it to the other side of the country. And when I saw the stock market moving and all the dynamics, it was kind of exciting. And so I made it a mission of mine to learn as much as I could about finance so I didn't make the same mistakes that my family made. I love to learn. I'll never stop learning. And I know you see I have a lot of letters after my name. Most people don't know what they are, but they're all just geared towards becoming a better advisor for my clients.
That's incredible. So, you mentioned a little bit about your childhood and some things that you went through. But what I want to ask is, how did growing up in Jersey kind of impact your outlook on life and success?
I think I had a pretty sheltered outlook on life and success. My family, both my parents did go to college. I would say we were maybe middle class to upper middle class. I'll be the first to tell you that, I did work in high school. So, worked at a bakery. I was a hostess. I think I worked at Chick-fil-A for a little while. So I always had the work ethic, but it was a very controlled environment. I went to Catholic school. There were a lot of rules. And, for me, I'm a curious person and I would always ask why. And sometimes you don't get the answer. The why is because I said so. And
Right.
so, when it came time to leave the nest, I decided I was going to go someplace far. And so I applied to a number of schools and was accepted to Arizona State University. And I decided to attend there. I'll be the first to tell you I was not the best student. I was social and I like to have fun. And, when I applied myself, I did well, but I think, I didn't have that maturity level that maybe some young adults do as they're applying to college.
No, I mean, totally understandable. I had a great time in college myself. But, what I want to ask is that, with you being from Jersey, how was that transition from, the East Coast over to the West Coast, now living in LA?
Well, I have been here now for almost 20 years, or no, 30 years. Okay, so I'm dating myself. I think when I first moved to the west side of the country, it was a big change. I think that on the East Coast, people are very direct, where on the West Coast, everyone is very polite, but then they might say something behind your back. So there's just not the same directness. And I think that perhaps my personality came off as abrasive at times. And if anybody's from the East Coast, I'm sure you'll understand that. But so I think between the accent and everything else, I think over time I've just learned to soften my speaking skills. But yeah, definitely culturally different. I don't know that I would go back to the East Coast, although I love the change of seasons and I love the fall. Uh, you know, I get to live at the beach now, and the weather's pretty moderate, and so it's a nice place to live.
Awesome. And so, just to kind of focus a little bit more on the company that you've created and, what you've been building today, what is Family Financial?
So Family Financial is a financial services company that does a lot of things for clients. The first thing that we do, and this is where, I've spent most of my career in financial planning, and I'm passionate about financial planning. I love my job. I really care about my clients and I want the best for them. And so having a plan allows us to identify where they are today and what their goals are. Over time, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of business owners. And that was an area for me that was interesting because, in case you don't know, there's so much creativity from a planning perspective that you can do with a business owner that you just don't have with two people or one person who earns W-2 income, at least from the tax side. And so, that became really fun for me. And so I just continued to learn more and focus on the business owner client. So what we do is we do investment management, which is an extension of the financial planning that we do. Investments are more of what I would call a means to the end. You do the planning and you see where people are going, and then you back into what they should own. And so I don't really know how to do it any other way. For the business owner clients, I think another important component of that, and even if you're not a business owner, is looking at someone's tax situation, helping them keep more of what they earn. Most tax preparers are looking backwards and not forwards, even though I hear so much that clients expect their tax preparer to be forward looking, and they never are, and they're often disappointed. So I'm a certified tax coach. I'm also an enrolled agent, and I have a CPA on staff that helps us prepare tax returns for our clients and do tax planning. So that's really nice. And, I think to take it one step further, and this is all through what I feel would help clients achieve optimal financial outcomes. We will do their bookkeeping. So we provide bookkeeping services. I can do their payroll. We can pay bills. And, the goal is to provide a one-stop shop for people who have a need. When you first start out, you might not have that much complexity, but you might need some direction on, okay, here's my goals. How do I get there? And then somewhere along the way, life just seems to get complicated. Whether you're getting married or you have mixed families or two different, dual income families, of course, is so much more prevalent today than it was when I grew up. And there's just a lot of balls in the air and a lot of information coming at us. So my goal was to try to simplify that for people. And when you have one team doing all of these things, the result is that you have fewer missed opportunities and your wealth acceleration is faster. So you can accumulate wealth at a more rapid pace when everyone is working together. And it's not always an easy thing when you're having to work. I'll have to call someone else's accountant and try to get a call with them, or I have to call a lawyer and coordinate because everyone has different context. And what I mean by that is, there can be one question that is posed to me as the financial planner, and I'll answer it one way. If you go to a separate CPA and you ask the same question, you likely get a different answer. And if you go to an estate planner, you'll get a different answer. And the one missing component to all of that is context. So, as the financial planner, I'm the quarterback and I have the context. So if I share my context with the attorney and with the CPA, the goal is that we're all on the same page with advice. So clients don't have to second guess their strategies or second guess the opinions of their professional team.
No, and I mean, I think it's really remarkable how you've been able to kind of build a company that you said, like you said, is a one-stop shop, from bookkeeping to, having an in-house CPA, and, with you yourself being a certified financial planner. You have your MBA as well as many other prestigious, accomplishments and letters behind your name. So what I want to ask is, how was that journey for you, accomplishing and getting your MBA or becoming a certified financial planner? How was that journey for you?
Well, I think for the majority of my childhood, I envisioned myself as a lawyer and had planned to attend law school. Even when I graduated from college, at that time I was forced to get in-state uh, residency. I had to work through college because my college money was gone. And so I really had to fend for myself in the last 3 years of school. And so when it came time to apply to law school, I took the LSAT. I was accepted into Pepperdine, which took me out to California. And I knew a lot of lawyers and nobody liked their job. And so what I thought about was maybe I'm footing the bill. It's $60,000 a year in, the mid 90s, which is a lot more today. But before I invest all of this and not love what I do, let me get out and see what it is. So I made a more thoughtful decision. Um, and in hindsight, greatest thing I ever did, because I think when college or graduate school is provided for you, you may not put as much thought into what your career will be. But when it's on your dime, you think about it a lot more. And so when I identified that I wasn't going to law school, and I started working, it was Dean Witter, that's how old it was. When I started working at Dean Witter, it was just this light bulb went off, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to get my MBA in finance. I'm going to become a certified financial planner. And, while I'm young and single, I'm just going to get as many credentials as I can. And so that's how it came about.
That's incredible. I mean, you just mentioning, well, like I guess we discussed before I started recording, just your rich history in finance, the amount of experience that you have, and just with the things you've accomplished. I want to ask, was it ever a moment where it was intimidating going into a male dominated field? How was that transition for you?
100%. It was extremely intimidating. And at that time, there were way fewer women in the industry than there are today. But I mean, I had at 29 years old more credentials than most of my colleagues, but I felt like I had to prove myself. Like I felt like I had to be smarter. I had to know more. And I absolutely had insecurity. And so, I would try to dress more mature, and I try to wear glasses. And, I almost felt like I was not even able to be myself because I really wanted to prove myself. So I did struggle with that for a while.
And something I think that's, another incredible feat that you've accomplished is that, one of your goals is to empower women business owners. So, I just want to ask, what are some of your approaches that you use or that you take to empower other women, and why is that important to you?
Well, I would love to empower everyone. And, I always joke, but part of my job is just being a therapist sometimes. And I'll have calls with clients that, have a crossroads and they're trying to make decisions. And um, I think that the one thing that holds all of us back is fear. And it's, fear of failure. fear of something not working out. But, what I've learned is, I no longer have fear, and I don't know why. Maybe because I realize that fear is really an illusion. It's not, it's a feeling that we assign to something that may or may not even happen. And so once you remove that emotional component and you can just focus on the facts, you can keep your head down and just take one step and put it in front of the other. And, believe me, there's had a lot of challenging life experiences, and maybe that's made me a stronger person, so I can leverage my own life experiences to try to help other people see their potential.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, something that you kind of, we talked about a little earlier is that, with Family Financial, it has several different branches and services that it offers to its clients. So, what I want to ask you is that how did you go about gaining your business acumen and your business knowledge and just understanding how to kind of outsource or even just manage a team of people?
You are asking some really great questions, and I don't know that I have it completely figured out, but I've learned things by life experience. So I think, for one thing, for a very, very long time, I had always looked to someone else to tell me what I should be doing. And, whether that was joining a firm that was going to take care of me, or, aligning myself with someone who I thought was smarter than me. And I think I got to a point where I realized that I had more talent and was maybe smarter than the people that I was looking up to. And what I was lacking was the confidence, and I didn't know why. And so I think once I understood that, um, I worked for a few firms that have a similar setup where they do tax preparation and they do bookkeeping and they do estate planning and the business management and all of that. And so I saw how they did it and I came up with ways that I would do it differently. And you just get to a point where you're not going to be able to hitch your wagon to someone else. If you have ideas of how you want to do it, you think you can do it better, there's always a way. And it's always evolving, but you don't know unless you try.
I mean, I agree with that 1000%. And that fear of the unknown or that fear of failure, I feel like can hold a lot of people back.
Yes.
And that just leads me to my next question. What state of mind or what emotions were you feeling once it finally clicked for you, and you just kind of told yourself, okay, I'm no longer going to work for a specific company. I'm going to go off and create my own company, create my own business.
Well, I remember that exact day. And prior to that, for about 2 years, I had thought about it, but then I came up with so many excuses of why it wasn't going to work. I'm a team of one. It's so much work. I've been in this industry for 26 years, and this is something I should have done a long time ago. And who could I partner with? And all of those things. And it just seemed so overwhelming at the time. Um, and to tell you the truth, I had someone who I thought was a mentor really pull the rug out from under me, like in a horrible way. And without getting into detail, I felt like I jumped off a cliff and there was no one to catch me. And so that kind of destroyed my trust and my working relationship. And, I think sometimes you have to fall really hard to get the grit and the courage to just make that decision. You don't have to solve all the world's problems that day, but commit to the decision And every day, just take a little step, and one day you get there. And I remember the day I got there, and it was the most empowering feeling, the most liberating feeling. I felt really proud of myself, and it felt very natural, which made me think I should have done it a long time ago.
For sure. So, just while running your company and kind of getting started and building everything from the ground up, what would you say are, some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned throughout that process? What are some things that really stuck with you throughout the journey?
Well, you know, I don't think it's practical to be able to do everything yourself. And there are things that I'm very good at, and there's things that I'm not good at. And so I think, every business, you need three components. You need the entrepreneur, the person who has the vision. You need the manager, the person who can handle the operations and manage people. And you need the artist. And so, if you can put those components together, you have a very powerful combination. But, I think it's important to assess where your strengths are and surround yourself by the people who can complement you with things that you're not great at. And then the second thing I will say is loyalty is and integrity is so important. So, and it goes a long way. You really have to let people know they're appreciated. And I don't want to use the word take care of, but if people feel that you genuinely care about them, they're going to genuinely care about the cause. And that goes with clients and it goes with employees.
No, and I definitely think that's a great piece of advice. Um, and something I feel like may not be uh, highlighted as much in today's time is, having that integrity and, being kind to people. I feel like it's a possibility that social media could have put a damper on that, but just to hear those, words of advice coming from someone like you, it really says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad that we live in such of a divisive society right now. And, I'm hoping that the pendulum swings the opposite way. But, you know, kindness gets you a lot farther.
For sure. So, what would you say is the importance of having a team and, building those meaningful, lasting relationships? And how did you focus on building your team?
Well, the easiest way to do it is to build a team with people that you've already worked with, their work ethic. Now, with the amount of experience that I've had the privilege of working with some great people. Not all of them are in a position, or have the have the fortitude to take that leap. But, in my mind, I had an idea of some of the folks that I wanted to surround myself with. And, so I started there. You start within your natural market.
That's awesome. How do you define success as a founder and personally?
Well, I mean, I manage money for, a lot of wealthy families. And I think the most important thing in terms of what makes someone successful is that they're happy, really. Because you can have all the money in the world, and if you're not happy, it doesn't mean anything. Um, I also think being healthy is really an important component. If you don't have your health, then nothing else matters. So, I know that seems a little bit lopsided, but if you're happy and you're healthy and you're passionate about what you do, the success will come if you focus your energy. And if you just go after the money, which I've done before, and it was the most miserable decision I ever made. So I don't even think, surprisingly, I don't even think about the money. I think about happiness and health and just caring, having a strong passion for what I do. So, I'll share a little story, but yesterday I met with a new client, and, he was 69, his wife is 68. They had 4 children. They lost their son tragically, in a car accident, and I didn't know this, but, he was nervous, and I came in and I went to their house and I did their financial planning, and they had so many decisions to make, and they were really beating themselves up, like, I wish I had done this so long ago. I didn't do a good job. Like, he really felt like a failure. And I said, well, before you beat yourself up, why don't we just look at what you have? And so we went in a lot of detail over, his assets, what he owed, what he had coming in, what he had going out, and we just did a projection. And the result was that he was going to be fine. And giving someone that context, you could see the stress and the anxiety just leave his body. And when I left, they both hugged me. And to me, like, that is why I do it. It's feeling like I really make a difference in people's lives by alleviating stress and uncertainty surrounding money.
I mean, in it, well, I guess I have a two-part response to that, but it really, uh, it makes a lot of sense for you to say that, you define success as being successful or as being happy and healthy, because you can get so, when you're surrounded just by wealth and people with money, it's easy to see that while the money really isn't that important, it really doesn't mean that much. I mean, of course you need it to survive, but like you said, just being happy and being healthy enough to really enjoy it is what really matters and what really counts. And
Mhm.
just the second part of being able to see how the work that you put in, the hours that you put in, you can visibly see it on someone's face when you're able to help them out and when you're able to relieve that stress. So that just must be an amazing feeling.
It is. It is. And it reminds me of why I do what I do. And so, I think to anybody who is on that journey, I mean, obviously, we need money to survive, it's a means to an end. But you think about, I mean, how I think how it happened with me is I put one foot in front of the other. I pursued something I was passionate about. And there's a phrase I like to say, it's luck happens when preparedness meets opportunity. When you're in a good place and you're emanating positive energy, and opportunities come in, and if you're not prepared for them, then you can't take advantage of them. But if you just keep sticking with your path, don't get, there's going to be hard times, but you just keep going. Don't get discouraged. I think that's the way to do it.
So, you've been featured in several publications, um, have several letters behind your name, just a very accomplished person. What would you say is the most important reason for the success you've reached today?
I think when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And I think that's the reason. I don't really have any other explanation for it. I think, if someday I'm not doing this anymore, I'll still do it. Whether that is in a different form, I feel like there's a big section of the population that, doesn't have the financial resources to even learn about money. And, that's something that I think it could change the world if we had some sort of educational component with, financial literacy. I have an intern that works with me, and she's amazing. She's really passionate about planning, and we talk all the time. And um, I just, we talk about like how much of a difference it would make, and especially now when you've got young adults graduating from college and they're getting their first job. How do you get them off on the right foot? And what are some tips that you could provide? Like, how can we help all of these people and not get into credit card debt. And there's just so many things. And I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I didn't know it. I didn't know any of it. And when I had my first 401k opportunity, I thought, that's a terrible idea. I put this money away and I can't touch it until I'm 60. I don't think so.
Right. No, I definitely cannot blame you about that, because when I first heard about it, I was not a fan either. It took
Exactly.
some it took some people around me, some coworkers, to convince me like, no, this is a good idea. Do it. You'll be grateful for it later.
Yeah. And I think one thing I'll also say is if you really want to have success, you need to prioritize. And, with that comes sacrifice. When your friends are out at happy hour and you're studying for an exam, or when, your family's having dinner and, you're on a work call, or, whatever the case may be, I for sure have sacrificed some time with my family, some time with my son, um, absolutely time with my friends. So it's just a matter of how important is something to you and what are you willing to sacrifice in the short term to get there.
How would you like for people to remember you and the company that you've built?
Gosh, I would love to be remembered as someone who was an advocate for financial literacy. Um, I think that would be, the greatest reward. I'm not even close.
What does the future of Family Financial look like to you?
Well, I would love to build my team. I would love to add advisors, but I'm careful about who we select. We have all people who are joining us go through you know, it's like a personality test that sort of assesses their work ethic, or if they're detail oriented or they're sociable. And then we'll take those results and then we pair them with the other members of the team to get an idea of like maybe what the friction points would be, or where could this person be positioned to be most successful. I want the people on my team to have success, and if they have success, I have success. If they if they're struggling, I want them to come to me and say, you know what, I'm really not passionate about this, and I'd be happy to find another place for them to excel. So, when you have good people, I'd rather figure out a way to better leverage their talents than put them in a position that doesn't serve them.
That's incredible. Tammy, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to you and learn more from you. But before we go, at the end of every podcast, we like to play a rapid fire question game.
Oh,
So
no.
if you're willing to play, I'll go ahead and ask.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Question number one. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Australia.
Australia. Why Australia?
Everyone is so nice there. It's probably most similar to America, but maybe a little bit cleaner and the food is healthier.
Nice. Question number two. What song represents your life the most?
Oh my gosh. I would say, is it Beyonce? I'm a survivor. Is that
Ooh,
her?
that's a great choice. That's a great song. Yes, it is. Great
Great
choice.
song.
And final question. What's an amazing thing that you did that no one was around to see?
Well, I don't know if no one was around to see it, but I flew up to Seattle and picked up a newborn baby during COVID for one of my clients who had some autoimmune issues, who was having a baby via surrogate. It's probably something you don't hear every day.
Wow, that's incredible. That's really incredible. Well, Tammy, again, man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate getting the chance and the opportunity to talk to you. And
Thank
I just can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
thank you. I really appreciate your time too. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.